Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Psychedelics Today. This is Joe Moore coming at you from Breckenridge, Colorado. Today on the show, we have return guests, Kristina and Jonas. Hello. Thank you both for joining us again to talk about your amazing project with Stan Grof and publishing and much more. Where are you all joining us from?
San Francisco, Western Edition.
Hi, Joe. Thank you for having us.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm just really excited to have you back. You've had so much success since the last time we spoke, and things are going better than I actually imagined possible. Not to be a pessimist, I'm just like, this is extraordinary, the kind of results you two have had. Yeah. So before we dig in, just got to do a little quick intro, and then we can talk about everything going on in your world. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to support our show, maybe leave us a small monthly donation at patreon.com/psychedelicstoday, or check out some of our courses at psychedeliceducationcenter.com or at psychedelicstoday.com. We start up another edition of Navigating Psychedelics for clinicians and therapists on July 20. I believe you can learn more about that at psychedelicstoday.com under online courses. So I think that's it for now. All right. So let's just remind people briefly what the origins of this project are and the nature of this project is. Either of you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we wait for the fire truck to go?
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay.
It adds ambiance. That's how we know you're in San Francisco.
So, as a background, last year, 2020, in May, we decided to create a donor advice fund with the intention to finance the translation of books about psychedelic therapy in different languages, in collaboration with different publishers. And we decided to start with this beautiful book by Stanislav Grof, The Way of the Psychonaut. And we got in touch with Stan. We invited some friends to join us in this adventure. And we were amazed by the response and by the donation we received during this first year. So we will go more into that. But in summary, we created a donor advice fund. We created a website, and we started to spread the word around. And then we went from there. Kristina, you want to add anything?
Yes, I would just like to say it's so fortunate that we chose The Way of the Psychonaut as our first book, because Stan is turning 90 years old this year, and it's a wonderful way to celebrate his dedication to this field of psychedelic psychotherapy. He's devoted 60 years of his life to this, to pioneering this way, and it's really an homage to his fierce courage and curiosity in bringing this message forward, and the receptivity that we've had from our project just really shows how much people have been affected and positively influenced by his work. And maybe we should talk more about who Stan is. Joe, do you want to?
Well, let's start with his birthday, July 1. Is that right? Beautiful. And that is the day we hope to release this episode. So hopefully you're all listening to this on July 1 and wish Stan a happy birthday internally on social media, wherever. If you see him in the streets of Germany somewhere, give him a happy birthday. Yeah. So Stanislav Grof, MD, a psychiatrist from Soviet Prague. Well, I guess both Soviet and Nazi Prague, and also independent Czech Republic a little bit here and there in between occupations. He is the person who has probably supervised more LSD psychotherapy sessions than anybody else on the planet. I believe over 4,000. And from what I understand, he was in charge of his own psychiatric hospital that was focused on psychedelics specifically. I think his first trip was 56 maybe, 1956. And that story is extraordinary, going in a mechanistic atheist, coming out a devotee to Shiva, was his phrasing, I believe, something along those lines. And, I don't think I'll ever want to use LSD in the same way he did there, with the strobe lights linked up to a brainwave entrainment device. It's quite the first way to do LSD or use LSD. Yeah, right. So it's something. And he really pioneered this field. There was a few people doing some stuff here and there, but he really stuck with it, and it was his whole medical career was psychedelics. Well, until they became illegal, and then holotropic breathwork came around. For a lot, yeah, I think all of us could tell a 90-minute story that's slightly different about Stan. So let's not go too far with it. But did I miss any important details?
I think it was great, Joe.
Yeah.
Of course, about Stan, we could speak for hours, but
Right.
we also hope people can find more information on his website, stangrof.com, and in many other websites like the Grof Legacy Training, etc.
I would like
Right on.
to give a shout out to Brigitte, who met Stan at a holotropic breathwork conference, right? Well, they first met in Germany, but then they really met in Esalen. And, Brigitte has been working through all of this trainings, and then they got married. So this is also a tribute to not only Stan's work, but also this encyclopedia, The Way of the Psychonaut, and really it's Brigitte's kind of inspiration to put all of Stan's work into a book, and that now it's being translated into the languages.
Right. Yeah, really thankful for her work. And I hope one way to have some sort of relationship with her, communication, podcast, guest, whatever. But I know COVID and Stan's recovery have taken precedent for sure. But I'm really happy that all of this activity has happened throughout the pandemic. You two have been instrumental in that effort, and thank you for your work. Kyle and I started this project, for those who don't know, with two intentions. Bringing Stan Grof back into the psychedelic conversation because, for whatever reason, people didn't want to talk about him too much, and also raise the profile of holotropic breathwork. And I think we've largely been successful. I think other people had similar intentions too, but that was our primary goal. And yeah, so that's why we're here. We're here because of Stan. And Stan's had a reference in some intro to philosophy book I read in my first year of my undergrad, and that's what sent me to the school library to find that we had 4 books by Stan, or 3 books by Stan. I was like, this is quite the finding. Obviously, there's some clued in professors at the school, never found them, but I should have asked all the philosophy or psychology professors at the time. Anyway, here we are. And you two are doing an amazing project to translate all this stuff, make it more available around the world. What do you know about the status in Russia? Because from what I understand, there's been a Russian training cohort independent from Grof transpersonal training for many years. And I think Muktananda kind of tasked Stan with bringing spirituality back to the East, the Eastern Bloc. So, it seems like it worked.
Yeah. I don't know too much about the training in Russia, but I can share that just today, Stan introduced me to the Russian publisher. And because another amazing thing that happened in this last year is that Stan asked me to work for him as royalty manager and literary agent. And in this capacity, I'm helping him keeping track of all the royalties and all the new foreign right agreements that need to be made every time a publisher is interested in translating one of his books. And so because of this additional work, I just got introduced to the Russian publisher today, and I will follow up. And it's interesting to know that most of his books have been already translated in Russian, and there is a huge number of people, especially clinicians, that have been following the work of Stan over the years. And just a few days ago, they held an international conference with many speakers from Russia. It was mostly people from Russia, but it was really a great event.
That's extraordinary. As you develop relationships in Russia, I would love to do some media covering what's going on over there. I think that would be really, really fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about what's going on in Italy. Was Italy your first set of countries, or so what's
Yeah.
going on over there?
Yeah. So the first donation we received, we used them to finance the Italian translation of The Way of the Psychonaut. We found a publisher. We finalized a foreign right agreement, and we are very excited to share that Volume One has already been translated and will be printed by the end of this year. And Volume Two will follow soon next year. So this has been the first project, and right after we had the German edition. When we started this project, Volume One was already printed, and the German publishing house was working on Volume Two. And just a few days ago was printed Volume Two with our support, with our financial support, and we received this beautiful picture from Stan holding the book, Volume Two of The Web of the Psychonaut.
Very happy.
Very happy. So we can say the German edition was the second one. We focused our fundraising. And right after the German, we moved to the French edition. And so, in collaboration with the Grof Legacy training teacher from Paris, we shared a fundraising campaign with the transpersonal community in France. And with additional support from people from the United States, we also raised the funds to secure the French edition of The Way of the Psychonaut.
It was so beautiful, the contributions and everyone collaborating together and sending the money from everywhere in the woodwork. Also, I'd like to speak to the Half My DAF initiative. So, a donor advised fund, also known as a DAF, is meant to be a not a parking lot where the money sits, but more of a super highway where the money goes in and flows out, and goes in and flows out. Well, there are DAFs out there that are basically parking lots, and in order to encourage these DAFs to distribute money, there was a couple in
San Francisco.
in San Francisco,
Jennifer Risher and David Risher,
who created this Half My DAF initiative to encourage people to spend down at least half of their DAFs and give to nonprofits that are focusing on various issues like education and so many other issues that are great, to spend down at least half, and then they would be able to match dollar for dollar that donation. So the result,
the result was astonishing for us. We applied to this initiative for a matching grant, and the majority of the matching grant they were offering was for $10,000, and they were only granting $150,000 for this cycle. And because the funds that we gather and we donated during this year 2021 exceeded 50,000, we were able to apply for the 50K matching grant, and we got it. They chose a nonprofit that we are collaborating with, which is MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They chose MAPS to award this matching grant that will be used to support the translation of this book. And this is wonderful. It was so exciting when we got the newsletter from them, and we didn't expect this result. It was really a wonderful celebration.
Yeah, it was May of this year. Exactly 1 year since we founded the Donor Advised Fund. And they highlight in the email or in the letter that they said a special congratulations to MAPS for getting this 50,000 matching donation, which I don't know. I think we might have been the only psychedelic nonprofit, maybe.
Yeah. They gave matching grant to more than 100 nonprofits. There is a long list on their website, and you can check each one how much they got, etc. So I don't know if there were other focusing on psychedelic education, but however, we are sharing this also with the hope that other nonprofit will maybe consider sharing this information with their donors and eventually benefit from this wonderful, generous initiative. Half My DAF, as I was saying. But what I want to really say also is that thanks to this matching grant, we exceeded our goal, because last year when we started, we were wondering what would be our fundraising goal for the first year, and we said, well, let's hope for $100,000.
Yes.
And thanks to this matching grant, we exceeded 100. We actually raised $110,000, and we are very happy that in this way we are continuing supporting other editions. In fact, now we are focusing on the Spanish edition of The Way of the Psychonaut that is still in progress.
Yes. Outstanding. That's really great. How has it been working with translators? We talked about it a little while ago, and it sounded like a really interesting process.
Yeah. So we leave to the publisher to select the best translators, and therefore we are mostly focusing on the fundraising aspect and the disbursement of the funds. And sometimes publisher also ask us advice about the promotion of the book and how to really spread the message and make sure that people get to know about it. But of course, this is mostly something that is been taken care by the publishers, including the translation.
Outstanding.
But we are not. I would like to say we are, we are interested in collaborating with anyone who's interested in this project, from translators and publishers and literary agents, readers.
Yeah,
Anyone.
in fact, we sometimes over the last months we received emails from people saying, "I am a translator. I speak these languages. I work as a professional translator." And we are building a database so that if at some point in the future we find a publisher that is interested in a specific book, and and the publisher is telling us, do you know any translator that has also an understanding of this field, we can introduce them with each other and facilitate some kind of collaboration.
It's a community of Psychonaut bibliophiles we're building.
That's outstanding. And are you doing the same kind of cover art? Are you doing new covers or different covers at all?
Yes, good question. We leave the decision to the publisher, the final decision. We know that most of the editions of this book in different languages have been using the same cover. This is the case for the Brazilian Portuguese edition. Is also the case for the Czech edition. For the Chinese, they chose a different cover, which is also very beautiful. So we let the publisher choose if to use the same cover or not.
Right. Cool. That's great. And what has Stan been saying about this project? Like, I know he's happy about it, but have you got any kind of like cool stories from him?
Well, one thing that comes to my mind is an email he sent a few weeks ago, right after we shared the successful fundraising from the French edition. And he sent an email to us, including also the French teacher that has been part of this project. And he wrote, "Dear Psychonauts, thank you so much for your time and your work." And I can't remember exactly what else he said, but he was just very grateful and appreciative. And this is really our inspiration to know that it's every gift is a gift of impact, because it makes these books more available widely to non-English speakers, but also it's a gift of love for Stan.
And also these books are this is the training manual for the Grof Legacy training. So the students who will be learning in that training program will be using these books, The Way of the Psychonaut, in addition to videos and other lectures. This is the basis for that training. So all the more
Outstanding.
have it in different languages, so that way more people can be trained.
Right. It's a big deal, right? Like the fact that it's been English and Russian largely. Like, we've really got to open this up. Like, I'm very thankful it's in Russia already and quite established there. I'm really curious about these intercultural exchanges once countries are more established, and then we can start kind of collaborating internationally better around this material. I think it'd be really fascinating.
Mhm.
So, you two are really helping pave the way for this bigger international conversation.
Right.
Thank you.
Psychedelics are inherently related to translation. So we're translating the message of psychedelics into human understanding. But first, we have to
Mm-hmm.
translate it into their language that they're speaking.
Yeah, I think Christina is making
Yeah.
a good point, because so often you are so immersed in your culture, and you see all these books and all these videos and documentaries in your own language, and it can be hard to just be in the perspective of people from other countries that for different reasons have less resources and a different history, and many of these books and documentaries are not available, and
Mm.
the stigma about psychedelics is very high, and it can be very hard to really find good information in your own language, that in some cases is the only language you speak. And
Mm.
this is our motivation, really, is to address the barrier to these informations and to education about psychedelics.
It's like we're reversing
Mm.
the Tower of Babel.
Fantastic. And so let's talk about that. So the original organization is Grof Transpersonal Training, and this is how people came through and got certified to become holotropic breathwork practitioners. Now, Stan kind of separated from that a while ago. There was the Grof Foundation. Now there's a new organization called the Grof Legacy Training, or Grof. What is it called? The new organization.
Graph legacy training. Yes, this is an
Mm-hmm.
initiative they launched
Great.
last
And
year.
what's the new name for the breathwork?
Still, Graph Legacy training includes breathwork and psychedelic therapy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We are actually not super knowledgeable about all the
Right.
details of the graph legacy training, because we are more focusing on the publishing aspect of it. But it's
Right.
done now. It's a new name. It's a new training organization,
Mhm.
and there are different teachers that have been selected, as far as we know, in different countries. And the best way for people interested is to reach out directly to them from the website, and they will provide all the updates. And we know in some countries this is already going on, and in some other countries is will be starting soon.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And I love that it's going to be a lot more decentralized. I hope there's a little bit of a focus on making more trainers. Because Graph GTT, Graph Transpersonal Training, has had kind of a bottleneck because there's only so many trainers. And if we wanted to like get a lot more people doing breath work, the move would have been to have a lot more trainers. But I understand why it's complicated, and I kind of have a sense of why they didn't go that way. But I'm really happy about this new direction.
I'm glad you mentioned decentralized because we just came back from Miami. We went to the Bitcoin conference and
What is
decentralized
it called?
the Bitcoin conference.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Speaking of decentralized things, this is a little update
Cool.
from our end. Is like when we last spoke in December, we were we were wanting to mention that we were accepting cryptocurrency, and
Mm-hmm.
now we are. So the
Oh, cool.
Donor Advice Fund is now accepting cryptocurrency, and so we can also take your euros and your dollars and your yen, but also Bitcoin. So
Yeah, this is something that we
Outstanding.
had in mind since the beginning. But initially, when we reached out to the nonprofit financial organization in San Francisco that manages this donor advice fund, they told us that they were not ready to accept Bitcoin. But a few months after our
Mm-hmm.
request, they actually sent an update saying that now they are able to. And so there is a specific link they gave us. And through this link, people can directly donate crypto. And so anybody who is interested in donating that through this way, is now it's possible to do it. And
mhm,
on the website, people can reach out to us for more details.
Mm-hmm.
But we really want to encourage, yeah,
Great.
philanthropy also through decentralized currencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others.
Mm.
And we believe there is a huge potential in philanthropy also based on the wealth that has been generated through this new form of currency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I think the conference helped the price of crypto bump a little bit. I noticed a bump right around the time um,
Eh,
the conference was. So cool. Glad for that,
yeah.
and hope people are feeling ready to donate. Um, I met a really great individual the other day doing a lot of great work in the space. Did a lot of work with Ethereum,
Mm.
and now is just kind of a business person and philanthropist in the space, and is doing incredible stuff. So just really grateful that there's these new folks with great financing that can make really phenomenal impacts in these cool fringe spaces like psychedelics that traditionally have been not an attractive place for people to donate. So the times are changing
Mhm.
quickly. Yeah. Cool. So beyond Spanish, have you thought about, well, okay. So what do the next 6 months look like for you? Let's go there for
That's
the
a great
foundation.
question. Thank you. Yeah, so at least two things I would like to share. The first one is really the vision for this project. From my perspective, I would love to see other people joining us, not just in the funding, but also in the selection of the books. My vision is to create something similar to a giving circle where a group of people that is passionate about spreading education about psychedelics in different languages joins this initiative and joins also the selection process of the books. We have a pipeline. We read other books that we loved and we would love to translate them, but we are very open also to recommendation from other people that want to make a suggestion and want
Mhm.
to join us.
Mhm.
Uh, and from this perspective, one way we see this project moving forward is in the direction of a giving circle, where a group of people gathers maybe once a month or every couple of months to discuss which books we want to translate and how we're going to secure the funding for this.
Mhm.
I think this is an incredible time for the psychedelic community in general, globally. And there is much more interest, there is more resources. And I think from this perspective, having these books in different languages is a critical aspect of the bigger picture.
Mhm.
And so this is
Mm.
something we hope to see happening eventually already in the next 6 months. But this is also a long term vision. So whenever it will happen
Hmm.
is depending on when the people will show up and tell they want to join us
Mhm.
in this capacity.
Mhm.
Right.
In the short term, I would say we have another deadline because we have the opportunity to apply for another matching grant. And the deadline is October 9th, 2021. So in October of this year, we will have, by October of this year, we have the chance to raise funds, donate these funds, and apply for another matching grant
Through having that.
through the same
Mm.
organization. Exactly.
That's fantastic.
And the
Wow.
maximum you can apply for is $100,000 matching
Mhm.
grant. So we know we have many books we want to translate, and just for the way of the Psychonaut, there are so many other languages and publishers that are interested, and therefore we are dreaming big. We are dreaming to raise $100,000 and apply for the 100,000 matching grant.
Mhm.
Mm. Outstanding.
And
Yeah, I really love that.
that we really want to expand is having somebody helping us on
Mhm.
the operations. Because as we said at the beginning, when we had the first interview, we started this as a side project. We both have our own careers in a different field, and we want to continue having our jobs. And therefore, this is really something we are doing on the side in our free time. And as
Mm.
we discover over the last months, it's taking more and more time because
Mhm.
it's really something that takes following up a lot with publishers and with donors. So right now there's a person with a master in publishing from Oxford that is helping us with the communication with the publishers. She joined us in a meeting with the Spanish publisher or with the Italian publisher, and therefore we would love to secure some fundings to be able also to cover that.
Mhm.
And we are still thinking how this could look like. And but basically, we would love to keep this donor advice fund and really work on expanding the circle to other philanthropists, other donors that want to join us also in the selection of the books. And we would like to have one person or maybe more than one person helping with the operations.
Mhm.
So this is our vision for the next 6 months.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I could say
That's
that
outstanding.
yes, I agree in the giving circle, and also having more of a gender balance with the people who collaborate with us, and having diversity not only with the languages but also feeling that it's balanced with the gender. So I would like
Hmm.
to make a shout out for that, and then definitely spread the word about our October deadline, because so much money is going into research, and
Hmm.
definitely much needed for this research. But if there's someone who sees the need for something besides research that um, that can be given to in this community, it's definitely spreading the word about our our initiative for translating the books about psychedelic therapy. And then
Mm.
I would love to work with someone so that we have more help just in the day-to-day
Hmm.
operations of things and executing, um, following up with emails and things like this. This would be much needed and appreciated.
Mm. Yeah, fantastic. Right. You two have limited capacity, right? So,
No,
have you taken on volunteers at all to assist you?
I would say, yeah, we had a person reaching out to us. Her name is Daniela. She
Hmm.
works as a fundraising professional for a nonprofit in Washington, and she's originally from Czech Republic, and she's also very much interested in psychedelics. So she reached out to us asking if she could help in any way, and it was really wonderful to connect with her.
mhm.
So she helped us preparing a one-page PDF summarizing the achievement of this first year of the fund as well as the next goal. And she helped us with Canva preparing this one-page PDF.
Very helpful because it's something that I wouldn't have known how to do. By the way, Joe, she reached out to us from listening to your podcast on Christmas Day. So you helped us to connect.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really, yeah.
You got it. Yeah, happy. I'm glad that worked out that way. Awesome.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe at this point, it would be kind of a cool idea to just share a little bit of your personal stories around Grof and transpersonal or holotropic breathwork. Um, whoever wants to go first, like how did you start bumping into this material?
Yeah, yeah. Happy to
You
go
go
first.
first. Yeah.
I I was introduced to the work of Stan when I was 16 years old. Um, my father is a publisher and a distributor of books in Italy. So at that age, I remember going in the office. I was looking something to have more understanding about my first psychedelic experiences. And I came across the books of Stan that were translated in Italian, in particular, The Storming Search for the Self, The Holotropic Mind, Psychology of the Future. And this book really gave me better understanding of what I was experiencing, and they helped me integrating my own experiences. And I remember shortly after reading these
Mm.
books, I really wanted to try also holotropic breathwork. So I got in touch with a psychologist and therapist from Rome, certified by Grof in holotropic breathwork, and I had my first holotropic breathwork
Mm.
session, and some more in the following years. So this was my introduction to the work of Stan, and it has
Mm.
always played a role because I came back to his books throughout my life, multiple points, and it really feels like closing a circle now to work with him and facilitate more translation of his books. And just to give a piece of information that I realized I didn't share last time we spoke is that this work of translation, it's really um, in my background also, because my grandfather, for example, when he is from Sicily, when the Americans came to Sicily during World War II, he was hired by the American army to translate English Italian, and
Mm.
because he had a degree in economics and he spoke English, he was able to facilitate conversations between the Americans and the Italians. And later, my mother grew up in Germany, and she also worked with translation and interpretation, German, English, Italian. And one of my first projects as I finished university was to translate a book published by MAPS, The Secret Chief Revealed, from English to Italian, in collaboration with an Italian publisher and with permission from MAPS. And yeah, I never thought this could be something I would still work on. But last year we had this idea, as we mentioned, like, we were also inspired by this beautiful book by Chris Bash, LSD and the Mind of the Universe, which is on our list. And we felt these books are wonderful. Like, we really want to make them more easily available in other countries. Christina, what's your background, Stan?
Well, mm, can I answer a slightly different question about my background with psychedelics, and then
Please.
fold into and about
Sure.
my relationship with Stan and stuff? So, I was born in Texas to Filipino parents, and growing up in that in that red state, it was just I didn't go into psychedelics right away, basically, unlike Jonas. Um, it was really when I moved to San Francisco about 16 years ago that I, as well as being my eyes opening in so many other ways, it was about these other conscious states. Um, so I got my master's in science and healthcare administration, and I worked in the hospital doing project management there. Um, and even in the healthcare world, I knew there was something that we could do more about mental health. Um, and it's so stigmatized, the mental health illness, and so are psychedelics also stigmatized. So let's put them together and heal, right? And take the two and then put them together, and see what happens, is to collectively see what the collective mind can manifest. So I had my
Right.
first ayahuasca experience in my mid 30s, and this is where grandmother told me, we are how the universe experiences itself. It was my first realization about how the universe is ever unfolding, and then we are an extension of how the universe is unfolding. And
Quick
so
question: Did you have a background in mystical studies or anything like that, or religious studies?
I, not studies, but experiential.
Okay. So you
So
had been doing work and like, okay, Roger.
yeah, good question, because um, I was listening to a Bach Arioso on repeat, and my dad came into the room and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm meditating." This is when I was 12, and I didn't
Mm.
even know, but that came out. So I've been
Oh my
meditating
goodness.
then. Um, so I would say that I am inclined to these states as well, um, and then I spoke before Oakland City Council to pass the unanimously the resolution to decriminalize entheogens, and I spoke in front of the council, and I held up a poster that said "Free the plants that free the people,"
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
that was a big milestone. I mean, we've gone so far since then, and I've been a Zendo volunteer at the Envision Festival in Costa Rica, and then also Zendo volunteer at Burning Man 2019, which is where I first had holotropic breathwork in the Entheodome. Um, and I was
Mm.
scared. I have to say, I was I was scared of what would happen. And thank goodness Jonas was there. And I turned to him and I asked, "Is this okay?" And he was like, "It's fine." And just knowing that he was there and he's done it so many times really helped me to go into the state and feel confident and relaxed and trusting of the process. Um, and The Secret Chief Revealed is the first book that Jonas gifted me. Do you know this book?
Oh, it's a classic. For whatever reason, I haven't read it yet. But it's been on my list for over 10 years now.
It's such a good. It's a very easy read about the life of Leo Zelf, and I like the way that it's written in an interview format. So yeah.
I would love. Do you know offhand? This is trivia you might not have an answer to. If there are plans to make this a audiobook, the Secret Chief Revealed.
Ooh.
I don't know about that. I think it would be wonderful. Actually, the book came out of an interview that was recorded. So somewhere the original file of the interview
Somewhere.
should be.
Really?
Yeah, that would be one. I think. I don't know much about who has those files and they're still available, but you're suggesting something that I hope to see one day.
That would be amazing.
Right. It further democratizes access, right? Because, I hate to say it, but it's almost like reading is a luxury for a lot of folks. I certainly feel that way. I'm too busy at work to even have a break. One of the ways to really shore up your inability to read is to start businesses. And a great way to make sure you have plenty of time to read is to work for somebody else, right? And have a little bit more of a chill job.
Yeah.
Right. So, unfortunately, audio has been one of my primary means. So, backlog is deep behind me. It reminds me every day of what I haven't read yet. All the things I don't know, all right there.
It's all right.
Yeah, I've read most of those.
This beautiful thing of audiobooks is more something happening in the United States or in English-speaking countries. In many other countries, there are very few audiobooks available, and many people don't even know that this is a way they can access a book. And also the pace of life in other countries is different than in the United States.
Very.
So every time I go to Italy, I meet friends and family members that are reading books. So, and I would say that also during the COVID lockdown, even more people started reading books or found time to read books. So this is one of the ways we can see what happened and might happen again as an opportunity to change the pace of life and rediscover the beauty of diving into your own self through a book. It's a journey. To be a wonderful journey.
And a beautiful gift to yourself.
Yeah.
To give yourself that time to do that.
I remember
totally.
Like sometimes
so transformative and like the imagination goes wild and it's a totally a different experience of being alive.
That being said, we also love audiobooks and we listen to audiobooks all the time.
Yeah. And clean the house while you're listening to an audiobook. Our house is very clean.
Good. Yeah, totally. Right. Like washing dishes. Like I don't have a dishwasher. So it's like, let's do some audiobooks.
Yes.
Wash the dishes or do the laundry or something. Yes. Right. Like, I don't have a servant yet. Like, so, got to do that. So yeah, it's it's a good thing. Like driving, I drive far too much sometimes, so airplane travel, too much of that in the past. Thankfully I've had a reprieve, so that there's reasons for it and there's also reasons to not have it, and your eyes can only handle so much, right? Like I'm doing this for 12 hours, then can I really look at paper? Eyes need to rest. So, but reading is still incredible, and we need to really get back to it. Honestly, this is a lot better for the planet, I think, than a lot of other things we have going in our culture. And for us, it's really good for us. From what I understand, it also in some ways makes you feel like you're being social, because you have all these conversations and thoughts going and interactions happening. So it can just help people psychologically. So there are compulsive people though, can't stop, but they're helpful too. They play their place. They have their place in the ecosystem. Yeah. Cool. So we still got another 15 minutes. Where do we want to go?
Yeah, there is something I would like to share, and it's the fact that many times a book can be a source of inspiration for action.
Mm.
And it comes to my
Mm-hmm.
mind how, for example, the book of Stanislav Grof, Realm of the Human Unconscious, published in 1975, inspired so many people. And
Mm.
I heard so many people saying how that book has been influential in their lives. Rick
Mm.
Doblin, Robin Carhart Harris, so
Mhm.
many more. And so it's really with this spirit that we envision supporting the translation of these books. So,
Mhm.
speaking of the realm of the human unconscious, this is another book that we have sponsored this year. And just this morning, we had a conversation with the Italian publisher, and he told us that the book will be printed on sale on July 1st for the birthday of Stan. And I find so
Mm.
interesting that so many years has passed
Mhm.
before this book is finally coming out on the market. So many other books by Stan have already been translated, but for some reason, this one that is very much focused on his research with LSD
Mhm.
was not officially published in Italian, at least. So,
Mm.
what what this is making me think is that there is a need for philanthropy to play a role here, because many other books about other subjects get translated very easily, and publishers find the resources to translate them, and there is a market for them. And when we speak about books about psychedelics, especially in countries where there is a different understanding of what they are, etc., publisher can be very much reluctant and hesitant in translating them. And so
Mhm.
that's why,
Mm.
especially now, where clinical trials are showing these incredible results in the United States and a few more countries, it makes sense for philanthropy to think strategically how these books can catalyze clinical trials and research in other countries. In the same way, they catalyze these clinical trials and this research in the United States. So we,
Right. Like
yeah,
without Stan, where in his books, where would maps be?
for example, and also we want to say this project is not just about the books of Stan. We have many other books, and there are so many other people who contributed incredibly to the field. As Kristina mentioned, we chose to start with this because Stan is turning 90 years old and he contributed so much. But we really envision to translating books about women and also from a different background.
Mhm.
So also philosopher
Mm-hmm.
and psychotherapist. We really want to, like, I feel enriched by the diversity in the field in these
Mm.
conversations around psychedelic therapy and transpersonal psychology. So we want to include as much as possible the best books we've been able to read and stay open to recommendation for the many books we didn't read yet.
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah,
think, Christina?
absolutely. Yeah, there's an opportunity here, um, for the generosity to pay, that we receive from these books, and to pay it forward so that other generations who speak different languages can also enjoy. And it's a real passing of the torch. I think that, as Stan is so positive. I mean, it's so beautiful how he accepts
Mm-hmm.
this is the ninth decade of his life, and
Right.
all of the pieces to get putting them all in a row, so that way the passing is smooth. And it's such a beautiful acceptance of this reality, but also we want to assure the people of this generation that it's being passed on to a generation that respects and honors the pioneering efforts that they've done, and
Mm-hmm.
will make good on their promise, right? So that we will learn from the past and bring it forward in a way that's holistic and healing for everyone. That's my hope.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I really appreciate hearing that. It's and I love this idea of like a catalyst. Like this isn't like a 6-month vision, right? This is like a multi-year, long-term vision with massive impact potential, and it's kind of like thinking about it kind of like in that microloan context. What was that platform that did a lot of that way back? Kiva.
Yeah.
And that was really impactful, and it was small dollar amounts. And this is, similarly small dollar amounts for massive global impact around this topic. Because, realistically, the amount of trauma we're going to see globally that's going to require psychedelic and breathwork interventions is going to be massive over the next decade, or 4 decades with climate change coming. So, yeah. So what does trauma look like when people aren't able to go back to their country? It's underwater now, or like it's desert, and they can't, survive there anymore. So there's a lot of bridges we're gonna be crossing, a lot of trauma that's coming. It's already here. I was talking to some folks this morning and last night about the impact of the pandemic on people's psyches. Like the need for breath work is massive. It's legal. It's available now. I'm feeling a little obligated to start running workshops. I'm a little nervous about it too, because COVID hit us really hard in my household. So we're a little nervous about it, but I'm also feeling like it's almost an obligation to help folks. So I'm really interested in that, and hopefully we can make a big difference for some people.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's a beautiful opportunity and a beautiful call, and we definitely need it as we cross from birth perinatal matrix 2 into hopefully 3, right? So what are the things about birth perinatal matrix 2 that Stan says is there's the fear of death, fear of never coming back, and the fear of going crazy. And that pretty much sums up 2020 for a lot of people. But
those are the 3 major BPM 2s. I've been thinking I really just love living at BPM 2 lately, given all this pandemic fun. I'm like, oh, this is really nice to feel squished. And, I'm like, am I afraid of death? Like, I keep wondering. I'm like, no, it's kind of like the easy button. Like, I'm not really too afraid of it. Like, and, been down the rabbit hole too many times, I guess. I'm like, is it really just that I'm going to have to like fight and work really hard later on? I think that's kind of it for me. Maybe that's no longer BPM 2. It's more
that's
3-ish.
BPM 3. There's the hope.
Yeah. There's a little bit of hope. It's just a big ass fight. And, I was cesarean born, so I never got to complete 3 successfully, as far as I know, at least. So it's a really interesting deal. We'll see. Time will tell. Hopefully technology saves our lives.
It
makes it a little easier for us. Yes.
Jonas,
have y'all been hearing about any fun virtual reality stuff or any kind of interesting software applications in relation to psychedelics? I guess beyond wave paths, because we talk about wave paths a lot here.
Yeah. About virtual reality, my only experience was at Burning Man with the team of Andrew Jones. It was a wonderful, incredible experience, and I really could see a potential for
Is that microdose?
It could be. I don't remember the title of the camp. I mean, it was connected with the Zendo camp, and we had some kind of joysticks in the hands to color.
Could you manipulate the environment, and it was all like Android Jones environment?
Yeah.
color.
Yeah. Microdose VR. It's unbelievable. My heart rate went up like double within a minute. Yeah, I got to try it at the Arizona Psychedelic Conference a few years back, like 2019 maybe.
Mind blowing.
I can only imagine it's better now.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Something I wanted to mention is that there's so much work could be done also translating documentaries. Like subtitling of documentaries, and eventually voiceover of documentaries. So regarding this beautiful documentary about Stan Grof, The Way of the Psychonaut, when we got in touch with the director of the movie, we discovered was gonna be already with the subtitles in different languages, and this is really amazing because so many people have been able to watch this beautiful film thank you to the subtitles. And there are many more beautiful documentaries come to my mind, like A New Understanding, Trip of Compassion, many others. And having enough funding would allow also to think about having subtitles or voiceover for these beautiful documentaries. So I just keep putting this out in the sense that we are starting with books because it feels like the most humble, most really at reach uh, goal for us right now. But so much more could be done, having the resources, having the people, and and we believe this will happen anyway, regardless of us, in the sense that the interest for this kind of work is growing so much. And I think spontaneously, different groups and different countries will somehow find a way to translate the books and translate the movies and the documentaries. But definitely, yeah, I think some people are thinking how they can have an impact. We believe this is a way people can have an impact. And
And for it to reach
yeah,
far.
and exactly. So we are very grateful. I have to say, I'm very grateful personally for the support, the encouragement from friends, from people we didn't know that reach out to us, and
And
for
to
Psychedelics
you,
Today,
yeah,
absolutely.
Psychedelics Today, the best podcast about psychedelics.
Definitely the one I've been listening for the longest time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you two are still listening. It's awesome. It's such a big project, labor of love for sure. But this field is amazing. I'm just so happy I'm allowed to show up the way I do to the space. Because sometimes you need a loudmouth like me to start talking about stuff that nobody else really wants to discuss. Right? It's it's a complicated field, endlessly fascinating, scary. Incarceration's no joke. So we've got to talk about that stuff. Yeah.
Joe,
Well,
I have a
thank you both
question.
for the kind words. Sure.
What percent of your episodes would you say have referenced or talked specifically about Stan?
I want to say on the low end, 10% at least. Most of the folks we interview aren't that interested in Stan, but we try to bring it up often and have some conversations. I'm thinking about talking with Matt Johnson from Hopkins, and it doesn't seem like he has doesn't really know how to use the work of Grof. He's doing fine. The Hopkins data speaks for itself. It's amazing, but how does somebody with this kind of more behaviorist bent integrate transpersonal psychology and the work of Stan? It's yet to be determined. Even if they will, it's a lot easier to get funding as a behaviorist, looking at biochemical models and kind of post-Pavlovian models, and it's a lot easier than talking about Stan's work. Even if you validate it with James Fadiman, who helped co-found it, and Maslow that helped found it. So even though Maslow is such a big name, people don't understand that he was involved in founding the next school that was supposed to transcend humanistic psychology. Transcend and include, right? But
Yeah.
people don't really know what to do with it. People barely know what to do with humanistic psychologies in general. So transpersonal makes it even more difficult to deal with. And, it's not like people are dismissing it out of hand. They just don't know what to do with the stories and the data. It's often so anecdotal that we don't know. Physicians don't know what to do with that. Science doesn't know what to do with those edge cases that only happen once, even though they happen. If if your model doesn't include these fringe cases, is it an accurate model of reality? We have to include these fringe cases. Otherwise, our model of reality isn't up to snuff.
Yeah.
And to your point, Kristina, I would love to talk more about Grof on the show. But, not everybody's as much of a fanboy as Kyle and I are. But hoping to make more of them.
Well, I have to say, the host that you have, the guests that you have on the show are really amazing. It really shows the diversity in the space.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate how your platform is inviting and giving the opportunity to people to speak about many different subjects and really honoring the diversity that is there in the community.
Thank you for that. It's kind of been our mission to have a lot of people that haven't been highlighted in the space on the show. We on purpose don't have the most famous people on a regular basis. It would be so easy to just have 20 of the most famous people in psychedelia talk. But what does that mean? Like, are their views going to diverge? How influenced are they by various marketing agencies? And it's a really hard conversation. Interesting one nonetheless. But there's so many stories left to tell. So many people found help through different ways. And is there a right path? I did a Clubhouse last night, and I was like, all of us really think our way is the right way, but can we really externally say that? And, we have to make room for everybody else, right? Because who knows? There's going to be, I think, a big smattering of different techniques, different levels of secrecy, and different results for different populations based on what's going on. There's this interesting dialogue of, is the word psychedelic the right word? There's people pushing to call it plant medicine. And I'm like, when I'm thinking about this, I'm primarily thinking about like LSD, MDMA, 2CB. I'm not really thinking about ayahuasca too much, but I know a lot of other people are. And what does it mean when we say plant medicine? What kind of umbrella is that? Because that's a big umbrella too. That's not really very specific. And plant medicine could be ginseng or turmeric, or it could mean ayahuasca or salvia or mushrooms or something. And, I don't know. We have a lot left to dig through here in the space.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All the more reason to be so grateful for having us. I mean, with having us on the show, I mean, not just once, but twice to share with you our updates. And then, so thank you for giving us this space and the platform to do so.
And also, Joe, as I mentioned in a call we had, I really hope to be able to, at some point, facilitate a podcast with Stan and Brigitte.
At least
Psychedelics Today. Yeah. It would be wonderful. So we will discuss more about this. But first of all, it's so exciting. This episode most likely will be aired on July 1st. So for Stan and Brigitte, who maybe will listen to this podcast today, happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Have a wonderful
Stan.
celebration. And to all the people that
happy birthday, Stan.
Celebrating in their heart, Stan Grof. Have a wonderful day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for all your work, Stan. It's been a pleasure just working in your framework and learning about it. And got to meet you a few times through Lenny and Elizabeth Gibson and just loved it. Just happy to be kind of in the mountains of Colorado, Breckenridge, Colorado, kind of being the beacon,
Yes.
beacon, the emissary of Stan in Breckenridge, Colorado. Maybe that's a way to put it. It's, we have to understand, and Stan does this really well. Like the Newtonian Cartesian system is over. Like it was a nice, helpful framework for a while, but we have to now live in an Einsteinian and post-Einsteinian frame. Otherwise, we're not doing science, philosophy, all of it correctly. Thus our interest at psychedelics today and Alfred North Whitehead. So that's how we have to really dig in and say, we've got to do it a little different. What we've done got us to here. That operating system got us to this really perilous point in history. Now we need a different story. And Stan helps with that. Holotropic breathwork helps with that. Grof, legacy is going to help with that tremendously. And yeah, thank you to both of you as well. Thank you for helping Stan. Thank you for really just getting the word out globally. People are hungry for it. As psychedelics continue to explode, it's really important that Stan continues to be represented.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you both. Thank you, Stan, Brigitte. And I think, yeah, that's lovely. So, any final closers before I kind of close us out?
On my side, I just want to thank you, all the listener. Thanking Psychedelics Today again, Stan Grof, for the opportunity to be at service and for the work of everyone in the space. So just wonderful to be part of this community. And we look forward having many more books translated in different languages.
Yes.
And having this conversation going on.
Yes.
With more exciting projects. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you both. Please support Jonas and Kristina. What kind of website can we go to, or how do people figure out how to donate?
Good question. So it's psychedelicliteracy.org. And
Great.
On the website, you will see the podcast that we did in December, and then also how to donate. There's a scroll down menu.
Yeah, there are all the instructions, but also there is the list of other books that we are to translate.
Bless you.
And this is the website that we use to share updates.
And get in contact with us through our website too. We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you both. I'm really excited for the future of your work. And so thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you like this, share it with a friend, especially some ones that are interested in donations to help a project like this. Anybody that's been to holotropic breathwork is a good candidate. Or anybody interested in maps is probably a good candidate too. All right. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, check out our courses at psychedelicstoday.com or Psychedelic Education Center. We kick up our CE-approved 8-week training program again on July 20. It's an 8-week series on Thursdays. We've got multiple time slots, and it is CE approved. And a little bit of secret sauce. We're working on an Australian cohort. So we're recruiting new teachers in Australia. And we're going to be able to offer it in normal afternoon, evening time slots for you. So Kyle and I aren't up at 3 a.m. teaching you. But a lot of the Australians have been very generous coming at 5, 6 a.m. their time to our classes. So it's been really cool. So more comfortable time slots coming soon. Yeah. So check it all out again, psychedelicstoday.com, psychedeliceducationcenter.com, and there's other courses up there, including some free ones. So, all right, I think that's it for now. Thanks all for tuning in. This is Joe Moore signing off from Breckenridge, Colorado. We will see you on the next episode.